Fiora is known as the Grand Duelist and is pretty much unbeatable in a 1v1. But can someone who has never played her before actually get good at Fiora? I don't know what I'm doing! So for the next 10 hours, I'm gonna try to learn Fiora in 3 steps. First, play normals. Second, do some research. And finally, third, play some ranked games. I'm doing this because I'm trying to learn every champion so one day I can make the greatest Viego video ever. And stick around until the end because one of the best Fiora 1 tricks in the world, Brennenwolf, will be giving some final tips based on my gameplay. So what runes and builds should I go? For runes, you have 2 main options. Conqueror, which is better overall and good in longer fights, and Grasp, which is good for short trades against hard or ranged matchups. For your build, you want to rush Ravenous Hydra and Trinity Force. Hydra gives you sustain and wave clear, while Trinity Force empowers your Q for tons of damage. After that, you want to go any of these items: Death's Dance, Hullbreaker, Sterix, Maw of Malmortius, and Sundered Sky, all of which give you offensive and defensive stats. And with that, onto some normal games. My very first game started off with my very first sick outplay with Fiora. And even though I wasn't pulling off anything amazing mechanically, I was already kind of impressed with my gameplay so far. And in just my first game, I was already confident enough to dive the enemy. Honestly, I absolutely stomped this game and I was very surprised. I think a big part of it has to do with the fact that this was a normal game, so there wasn't really anything to lose, so my instincts just took over. And as we won the final team fight of my first game, I started thinking this challenge was gonna be the easiest one yet. Or maybe it would all just go downhill. Well, let's just say my next game did not start off going downhill. Okay. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing! I don't know what I'm doing! But I killed them all! And eventually, when the enemies respawned, they tried to kill me again. And even though it was a 1v4 and I had 3,000 gold to spend, I still killed 2 of them. Unfortunately, this game did eventually start going downhill. My early confidence quickly turned into overconfidence after the game started off as well as it did. This game was on me in the end. I could have carried if I knew what I was doing, but I kind of just threw the game instead. That defeat honestly did a number on me. My next game, I played way too passively and took a ton of pokes, so I lost the 1v1. And once Malphite built Bramble Vest, I was not able to heal anymore, which made fighting him even more difficult. This was the game where I realized how important Fiora's vitals are. I was having trouble hitting them because I was so focused on hitting them, I wasn't using my W properly, and since I didn't use them in short trades, I lost the trades. I definitely have a lot to learn. My next game started off fine until I got minion blocked and couldn't move. I panicked and queued forward, and it was not the right choice.
Where am I I'm stuck! I'm right-clicking! I'm stuck in the wall right there! I mean, how unlucky is this?
This game, it became even more clear I need to play slow with my vitals. Slowly poke them down instead of just going in like an idiot and dying. After this game, I realized I have a lot to learn about Fiora. So I did some research on YouTube and here's what I found. Your vitals always spawn in a pattern. Imagine a diagonal line going through the enemy champion. It'll always be on the bottom left and then top right. Hit here, it'll be on this side of the line. Hit here, it'll be on this side of the line. Hit here, it'll be on this side of the line, so on and so forth. You can use this to your advantage in lane because if a vital is bad and it's on the other side of the champion, you can walk out of the vital range, walk back in, and you know it'll spawn on the bottom left so you can get a quick Q off. The next tip is the longer your Q dash is, the longer it takes to deal damage. So like this takes longer than that, which just adds more burst. You can also use this trick to take down towers more efficiently. You can go auto Q, or if you want to spice it up, you can go auto E, Q, auto. And 3, ulting the front line is actually okay because it does max HP damage, but if you can get on the back line, ulting the carry is preferred. There are a few more tips from Brennenwolf himself, but that's gonna be at the end of the video. And with that, on to some ranked games. I took this knowledge into ranked and immediately started playing a lot better. I was getting better at playing around my vitals in fights and using my auto attack resets to maximize damage. To be fair though, this game I had a Lulu and Soraka, which basically meant I could do whatever I wanted and I wouldn't die. I mean, I was completely overwhelmed this fight and played pretty bad, but it didn't matter because I have 2 supports. It wasn't perfect, but it was promising. Game 6 started with me getting an early push top lane, so I killed the enemy jungler while she was doing red. And with every game, I felt more comfortable using my vitals, which allowed me to start focusing on actually using my W now. I was definitely still super sloppy, missing vitals, canceling auto attacks, and missing Qs, but at least I had a game plan, which made it a lot easier for me to pull off this sick flash outplay.
Fuck you. I played that super badly, but I had a super cool flash, so it's worth it.
Eventually, I got so far ahead, I was able to take on Irelia and Gwen at the same time. I will admit, hitting vitals against 2 champions with like infinite dashes is pretty difficult, but considering I killed Gwen in like 1.3 seconds, I don't think it really mattered that much. Am I getting the hang of Fiora? Yeah, the early game didn't go great, but if I got on the back line, I was still able to do pretty respectable damage. And as the game went on, I continued to scale, and I was eventually strong enough to 1v1 the fed enemy Viego. But in the end, what I did didn't matter this game. My Gragas hit the fattest ult I've ever seen, and the game was so late that just one amazing fight let us win the whole game. Support Gragas, by the way. Game 8 was a complete disaster. I was actually doing pretty well top lane and even managed to get a kill during a big fight top lane, but as you can tell by the score, things weren't looking too good. And even though I wasted ult here, I was actually winning my 1v1s top and was starting to understand why Fiora was such a good duelist. But then the enemy team showed up because I wasn't paying attention to the map, and I died. It's just one of those games, it happens. Game 9 was pretty quick because the enemy team had an AFK, but I did manage to win a 1v1 top lane, which was pretty nice. But yeah, they surrendered in 15 minutes. Despite starting to play better in general, I still struggle to time Fiora's W correctly. I just have terrible reaction time.
Oh, she doesn't die. Oh my god.
But after I bought Executioner's Calling and got my ult, all of a sudden 1v1ing her was kind of easy. But seriously, I need to start using my W earlier in fights. It has an attack and movement speed slow, so using it isn't bad, and waiting to react to CC is not working. I mean, like in this fight, after I killed Corki, I saw Briar and Yasuo, so I used my W early, which stalled long enough for my team to arrive. After the first death that game, I was an absolute monster. In no time, I was already legendary, killing towers and champions like they were minions. We won the game a few minutes later. I rode that high into the next game, pulling off a 1v2 in the top lane when Master Yi came to gank. I played around my vitals really well, and all of a sudden, I had more HP than both of them. So, with full Conqueror stacks and flash up, I just killed them both. I mean, after that double kill, fights weren't even close anymore. This guy ulted and I still won the fight with pretty much all of my HP. Yeah, I think me melting this Vel'Koz gives you a good idea of how this game went. Top diff, I guess. Okay, so this was probably the worst game of the whole challenge for me after losing this 2v2 top lane. I mean, there is no way this Irelia stun actually hit me, right? I mean, we might have still lost the fight either way, but I just couldn't let go of it for some reason. I just couldn't focus on the game. I played every fight and every trade so poorly that I just didn't deserve to win. I have no one to blame for this game but myself. I wasn't trying to lose or anything. I was just so frustrated every decision I made was wrong. Top diff again, I guess. But luckily my attitude quickly turned around after my jungler ganked me in my next game.
And he gives me the kill. Dude, this guy's too kind.
I think the Queen got tilted like I did last game because then she tried to fight me and my minions and just completely threw the lane. This became my redemption game as I killed Quinn again and again and again. But yeah, they surrendered right after that. My next game was against Jax, perhaps one of the most skill-expressive matchups there are. A duel so classic there's an animated YouTube video about it. Unfortunately, I panicked and used my W way too early and lost immediately. This whole matchup is basically decided by my W. If I block his stun, I win. If I don't, I lose. And we all know how bad I am at timing my Ws. Well, that matchup sucked, but at least I was still able to 1v1 other champions like this poor Sylas. But in all honesty, this Jax kicked my shit in all game, and he would have kept doing it if Miss Fortune didn't save me at the end of the game. And with Jax dead, Miss Fortune and I took a tower, killed Kai'Sa, and kept pushing. And then we just kept pushing and won the game? But in all seriousness, I really gotta stop using my W when I panic. Game 15 was a total disaster. Warwick died early because he ran away from me during a fight in his jungle, and he ended up dying. dying. The fuck are you doing? So then he got mad and sat top, taking my minions and EXP. Then he started intentionally infeeding everybody's lanes and typed "thanks team" every time he died. He ended the game with 15 deaths and there was just nothing we could do. My second to last game started off pretty well. I pushed out my lane and got another early kill on the enemy in their jungle. Then we had a really messy dive because we didn't expect Rengar to be there, but since Mundo missed a bunch of minions, I'm gonna say worth. My next 1v1, I knew he wanted to place Rift Herald, so I planned a little ambush. He really didn't stand a chance because he had no ult, and I pulled off a clean auto flash to hit a vital. Things are going great for me as I got my second tower top, but the rest of my team was struggling around the map. In the end, the enemy team kinda just ran us over, and my TP flank did not go the way I wanted it to. And now on to my last game, the one I would show Brennenwolf. Holy moly did I play this game well at the start. For once in my life, I actually landed a W and got a kill. I mean, sure, Irelia stun is super easy to predict because it has a long animation, but my goodness, it felt amazing to actually time my W correctly. And in the next fight, I held off hitting my last 2 vitals of my ult because I knew she would dash behind me and I'd hit them anyway. I'm not sure if it was correct, but it felt right. By the time laning phase was over, I was an absolute monster. I was playing pretty well mechanically, and because of that, I was able to fight 1v3 and live long enough for Master Yi to clean up some kills. And when it all came down to the final fight, I thought this was one of my best games yet. I knew I still had a lot to learn, but I was pretty happy with how far I had come. And with that, all that was left was to get a few final tips from one of the best Fiora players in the world.
Ecor, my friend, welcome to the dark side of playing Fiora. I must say, you're doing a pretty good job for the short amount of time that you've played her. She's a pretty hard champion to pick up right out of the blue. I'll give you 2 tips, though. Number 1, be more aggressive. Limit test, man. Go for those 1v1s. Fiora is the grand duelist after all, and you're going to win a lot more than you think you are. Tip 2, tighter movements. You got to keep those Qs tight, because if you miss the Qs, you're going to get that longer cooldown, and it's really hard for you to close gaps or to get away from enemies if you do miss.